Hey, everybody, welcome home. This is Angela Rye with Native Land Pod. I am hosting today another solo pod, and I wish that it were under different circumstances, but unfortunately, the American people at this point are used to going from crisis to crisis. We are facing another one as Republicans continue to delay the vote on the government shutdown and risk everything that's supposed to protect the American people in this era at this hour. As we move from crisis to crisis in this administration, we are facing yet another government shutdown. Many of you all know that we just experienced something very similar over the summer as the Congress considered HR 1 or Senate Bill 1, and that was designed to gut all of the services that we pay our hardworking taxpayer dollars into. Things like healthcare, Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP benefits. We saw all of that at risk over the summer. The consequences of that bill still taking place. And yet now we're facing another crisis. And so we are going to hear today from some congressional members who are working hard to ensure that the American people's values are protected, their lives are protected, and policies that make a difference to ensure they are better off and closer to pursuing the American dream are also protected. Joining us first is my forever boss. Her name is Congresswoman Maxine Waters. I call her Queen Maxine. She represents the 43rd District in California. She is also the ranking member on the House Financial Services Committee, where she works hard to protect what the American people want to see every single day, from housing to banking to opportunities for contractors who look like you and I. So I'm bringing to the stage now Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Hi, Congresswoman.
Well, hello. Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be on with you today.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad you. I'm so sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I'm just wanting to say thank you. I'm glad to be on with you.
I'm happy to see you. And you looked beautiful this weekend during the annual legislative conference at your event. And of course, walking across the stage, seeing the members walk across the stage is always my favorite thing. So, Congresswoman, you've been doing this for many years. You've been working hard to be the voice of the people in Congress. When I think of the conscience of the Congress, which is the moniker for the Congressional Black Caucus, you certainly represent that. But I just want to talk to you for a moment. Can you explain what this particular shutdown means to the American people right now and what is all at stake?
Well, absolutely. First of all, I am very concerned and really upset about the crisis that we find ourselves in. This crisis is initiated by the president and Republicans. And literally, the president is using his power once again to show that he's going to tell this entire nation who's in charge. And it's all about a big power play and some of the right wing philosophies that go along with that. The President of the United States has under his control basically all of a cabinet that he has, selected. Many of them are not qualified, but he's got trouble inside his own Republican caucus, and he does not have the votes in his caucus to do exactly what he wants to do. Some of them want cuts even deeper, and usually they expect the Democrats to bail them out when they don't have the votes so that they can get basically most of what they want and throw some crumbs to the Democrats. We're not having it. We're not going to have it. We're not going to have it because this president has led the way for cuts in medical care in a way that we never dreamed would happen. Whether we're talking about Medicaid and Medicare, we're talking about the support of this government for the people of this country who need assistance with Medicare, and they will die. Many of them will die without Medicaid and Medicare. We're talking about the survival of the ACA and the work that we did to get to the Obamacare, where people who had been excluded from coverage altogether because of pre-existing conditions. We're talking about saving that. We're talking about the subsidies that go along with that and the tax cuts. And so we've made this a top priority. Trump cannot be trusted. They had the first meeting with him yesterday. Of course, It didn't turn out very well. Nothing happened. No agreements were made. There was an attempt by the vice president to say, trust us, you know, vote for what we have in the continuing resolution, and let's identify some concerns you have and let's deal with them later. And of course, Hakeem and Schumer said, no way, we're not going for that. Whatever we agree on, and we're pushing for having health care at the top of the agenda, along with some other very important things, but you got to sign on the dotted line. We don't trust that give us now what we're asking for and we'll take care of you later. That's not going to happen. But people will be hurt very badly. It's not only in healthcare, but just think about HUD and Section 8 and all of the people who are only able to have decent living and safe living for their families because they're being subsidized with Section 8. And still, we've never been able to cover them all. They're still standing in line sometimes for years.
Yeah.
We will increase homelessness if we do not do that. Let's look at what they're trying to do with food stamps and on and on and on. If we go along with what the president and the Republicans would have, we would absolutely pull the rug out from under Americans in very detrimental ways where so many people would be hurt.
I'm so glad you mentioned HUD, which for our listeners and our viewing audience is the Housing and Urban Development Agency, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, rather. I want to just come to this for a moment because we're seeing this administration do some really unprecedented things with federal websites. We know that they were taking down our history earlier in this term, and now they have a website. They're using HUD to push political messaging. And so if our viewing audience would go to HUD.gov, you'll see this, and I'm going to read it to you all. It says, the radical left are going, this is the home page, and there's also a pop-up screen that comes up that says the same thing. It says, the radical left are going to shut down the government and inflict massive pain on the American people unless they get their $1.5 trillion wish list of demands. The Trump administration wants to keep the government open for the American people. So he's essentially telling this story, Congresswoman, painting this image that they're the party of the people when we see how they continue to inflict harm on the American people. Grocery prices have not gone down. They're making Medicare, Medicaid, and other health care access far more difficult to attain. We talked about SNAP. We know what happened with summer jobs. We're seeing what's happening with funding for our schools. They're trying to make it harder for people to maintain their jobs. They're shooing people out of federal government work and employment opportunities. What do you feel as the ranking member on financial services seeing something like this on the HUD website? What's your response to that?
Well, we've got to do the best job that we can do to educate the people. One of the things we've been doing, we've been town hall meetings. Many of our members not only are doing town hall meetings in their own districts, but they're going to adjacent districts where there are Republicans and letting them know who's doing what and telling them the truth about what Trump and the Republicans are doing. We have to continue to do that. I've been involved in about 11 protest actions. We are organizing. We're on the streets in some of these communities all over the country, and people are learning. And so we've just got to do a better job than they're doing. They are lying. They are misleading the people. They are thinking that the people are stupid and don't know that the President of the United States, through executive orders, is exercising the kind of power that we've never witnessed before. And he's doing it to the detriment of millions of people in this country. We got a fight on our hands, and we've got to stand up. We've got to be strong. We cannot give in. We cannot be hustled by them. We cannot be frightened or intimidated by them. We've got to fight, fight, fight. And they're the ones who are willing to shut down the government. They're in charge. They have the majority in the Senate, the majority in the House, and they own the White House. And if they wanted to do right by the people, they could do that. But no, They're trying to put us in a position where we will be blamed. And I think the people are catching on to this, that we're the ones not to blame, that we're fighting. They're even threatening. They said Social Security is on the line.
Mhm.
And so I want people to listen carefully to what he's saying and what they're doing, and pay attention to what you just showed them, that they're advertising through the HUD website, and know and understand that Democrats want to keep the government open, but we're not going to throw away the rights of the people and the rights of the people to have their government assist them in a decent quality of life.
Congresswoman, I know that you have to leave, but I do want to ask you this last question because I think there's a huge misnomer when the Republican Party considers who is in most need of SNAP benefits. And for those at home that don't realize, SNAP benefits are food stamps. When you consider that, sometimes in their minds, it's clear that they see black and brown faces, black and brown families. But there's data that suggests that the population that requires the most amount of food stamps is actually represented by a Republican. It is the zip code 51750. And that zip code, I'm sorry, 575, now I'm getting it wrong. 57570 is what I'm trying to say. 57570. That's in South Dakota, Congresswoman. South
Well,
Dakota,
yeah,
71% of the people in that zip code live in poverty. What do you say to them where they will be massively impacted by this?
well, what we have to keep saying to them is don't be misled by the president and the Republicans who are making you believe it's those people of color. It's those immigrants. It's those people that's causing you problem. And we're trying to save you. When you look at that area and you look at Appalachia and you look at the rural communities, you look at the hospitals that's going to be closed in rural communities. If they cut Medicaid, the $1 trillion out of Medicaid that they're talking about. And so they've led their people to believe that it is people of color and people in inner cities who are getting all of this support from government, and they're the ones. And these people, really, many of them don't know because they've been fed a racist message and they've bought into it oftentimes. And they're standing up for the people of this country who should be running it, and not those people who are getting too much. They don't deserve it. That's why he goes after diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's why he goes after education. That's why they go after food stamps, because really what they're told and what they're trying to do is they're trying to limit the success of people of color and put their feet on our necks to say, you've gotten too much, you're making too much money, you're buying houses, you're doing too much. Those people who too are going to get hurt believe that. And they don't know until the axe is going to fall on them. We're trying to tell them every day what's going to happen. We have pregnant women who won't be able to deliver babies in rural communities. The hospitals won't be there. The OBGYN services won't be there. We hope they are listening, because this president is a liar who cannot be trusted, and he is mean, ornery, low down, dirty, and no good.
Well, that says that's that on that. And if you all do not know, this is the legendary Congresswoman Maxine Waters. She is the best fighter I know. I learned from the best. Let's square up. Let's square up. We got to fight to get engaged in, and it needs to be a bipartisan fight. It should be multiracial, multi-ethnic. It is a coalition where all of us should be a part because we want protection for all of us. Thank you
That's
so
right.
much, Congresswoman,
That's
for joining
absolutely.
us.
Thank you so much for not only your podcast, and as I reminded people the other day, you had a podcast before most people didn't even know what it was. And you've been with this and you've been communicating. You're an organizer. You're someone who really does understand the legislative process. You've headed the Black Caucus. You've worked in this atmosphere for so long that you know it, without even thinking about it. So thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for helping us out as we try to move past what could be a shutdown of government.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. If you all can't tell, this is the very first political job I've ever had working for this queen. So she's just slightly biased, but I'll take it. I love you. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye. Okay, everybody. We had a little bit of a love fest with somebody who I love dearly, Congresswoman Maxine Waters. I want you all to know that as she continues to engage in this fight for the people, she's got to raise money. And one thing that I love about the Congresswoman is the resources that she raises, even through her campaign. Work to help to solve some of the many crises across the country. She doesn't just do casework and help to solve issues for people in Los Angeles 43, California 43 rather. She is across the country working on issues. People reach out to her first. They know her and trust her very well, as do I. And she's still someone that I will go to for support. So I just want to deepen into this for a minute as we await for our next guest to join us. Um, you all, there's a lot on the line with this government shutdown. And I think what's frustrating for me, and I'll just tell y'all, is last time when we were dealing with a Senate Bill 1 that the House was considering in the summer, we decided to do a 69.5 hour marathon. We didn't know how long it was going to be, but we know we wanted it to lead right up into this vote. And Hakeem Jeffries ended up doing, I think, a 24 hour plus, maybe it was 25 hours on the House floor, also protesting. And so we spent a lot of effort in combating what we knew was likely to occur. What was shocking to me, though, is when we reached out to members of Congress, our default normally is to tell you all, because I know some of you are in the comments right now, like, what are we going to do about this? What we normally tell you is to call your representatives. Well, when we called representatives over the summer, especially those who are on the Republican side who would most likely to flip votes because they lived in mixed party districts or districts that were less conservative, some of them hung up on us. Some of them sent us straight to voicemail. Some of their staff got ornery and rude. Um, but what we saw was that they were pretty much convinced. So we don't know what this president has on some of these folks, but what we do know is that they've been compromised, that their consciences have been seared with a hot iron, to use a biblical term. But there is someone who I think regularly represents not just the conscience of the Congress, but also the conscience of the people. She says the quiet part out loud. She says what needs to be said in hearing rooms. She says what needs to be said on the House floor. She says what needs to be said in interviews. And she's normally representing not just the interests of Black folks, but I think all well meaning people. She is my dear sister and friend, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett from Texas's 30th congressional district. She's joining us now to talk about the government shutdown and all that is at stake. And we don't have a video for Congresswoman Crockett just yet, but when we do, we will bring her back on. And I want to flag, um, y'all, I'm not hearing, I don't know what's happening, but we're not getting video. So we can just bring her back in, hopefully, when we get the video. Um, so I just want to flag that this particular shutdown is even more harmful. And the reason for that is because you guys know we've been going from crisis to crisis. So there's one shutdown to the next, right? It's not like there's smooth government operations. We're going to continue to fund the government at the levels that it's been funded. We've been going from shutdown to shutdown for many, many years. This is what happens when you gerrymander districts, especially racially, and it results in the kinds of problems that we've been having. But as we continue to go from shutdown to shutdown, what happens is it puts some essential workers in the government. It is highly um, subjective to determine who is an essential worker, but it puts essential workers at risk. We already have a number of those people who are at risk because many of them were forced to resign, forced to retire, given the option to retire. There's a big piece about this in the Washington Post just over the weekend. So a number of these workers are right in harm's way already. So my concern is that if the government shuts down, they have yet another out to get rid of people like scientists, like people who are working to preserve history, like the folks who are working to preserve civil rights who might be flying under the radar right now. And so that is the issue. Um, that is the issue. So we are still waiting for Congresswoman Crockett to join us, but I know that'll just be a moment. I think the other thing that I want to bring to you all's attention is Donald Trump just today said that he was expecting that there will probably be a shutdown. This president is highly cavalier, very cavalier about he doesn't care because he's busy. They're getting ready to sell Trump RX with Pfizer prices. They're getting ready to do whatever other business deal under violating clearly the emoluments clause, which it appears that he is regularly doing. So he doesn't have time to think about how a government shutdown might impact the least of these. When I was at the where my mother gets cancer treatment. Yesterday, she gets chemo on Mondays, 2 Mondays on, 1 Monday off. And we were in there. It was so many. There were so many people, and my dad said to me, he said, it's good that people can come to be treated, but it's probably going to get so much worse once more government services are um, are cut. And so that's what we're up against. But today, when the president talked about the government was probably going to shut down, what he continues to repeat is something that has been debunked over and over again. But this is what happens when you have someone who is a pathological liar, so it seems, who continues to spread falsehoods. He used a video that he posted on Trump Social. Trump Social is really what it is, but True Social yesterday, of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is saying words, or it sounds like there's a voiceover on Chuck Schumer, words that he's never said. And then you have Hakeem Jeffries standing there with a sombrero and a fake mustache. What is the purpose of this? Well, let me tell you. So he says today they want to give Cadillac Medicare to illegal aliens at the cost to everyone else. This has been debunked. Undocumented people are not eligible to enroll in subsidized programs like Medicaid, Medicare, or the Affordable Care Act. And this is sourced per The Guardian. But he continues to repeat this claim. He continues to try to draw a wedge between the migrant community and people who are here and suffering, who feel like there is someone who is responsible for what they have not received. There's someone that needs to someone who is to blame for this, right? And I think that we just have these issues that we have to continue to fight back against. What I think is unfortunate here is it appears that while Congress is deadlocked, the Democratic Party, unlike with the Charlie Kirk resolution, is mostly together, right? They seem like they're in lockstep and they're planning to vote no on this bill that would cause so much harm to the American people. But it appears also that the Republican Party is not in lockstep. Um, the government funding, unless there is some type of agreement, will be cut off by midnight. That is today. A number of government services will be in harm's way as of tonight, midnight Eastern time. Um, that could bring so many of our government services to a complete halt, to a screeching halt. We know that a government shutdown doesn't just impact government workers, doesn't just impact the people who are before the government today. That causes issues with refund checks from the IRS. It causes issues with Social Security payments. It is normal at this point for government shutdowns to be the way of governing. I don't know when that became a responsible way of doing so, but that is exactly what's happening. This also is in part, the Republican Party worked to try to overturn the Affordable Care Act, what they call Obamacare, which is President Obama's crowning and most signature achievement. They continue to go after that. They're trying to gut those healthcare protections and services in in this bill as well. Um, and I will let me see. This is the other thing. Or again, we're just working out technical delays with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. So y'all stay tuned. I also have a very special surprise at the end of the program. But they are also saying that there are, hold on. I want to make sure I'm getting this right and have the most update information. Um, Chuck Schumer is also saying that his colleagues are telling lies. I want to know who among you is expecting truth from this party that is clearly under Donald Trump's thumb. And what I want to do right now is take some questions. Lolo, if you could either come on screen or just text me the questions that are popping up, the comments that are popping up in our thread. I want to make sure that that we have what we need and we are answering people and their questions in this moment. This shutdown can be scary, and I know folks are used to, again, moving from crisis to crisis and then this administration, but people want to know what is going to happen and what's at risk for them. They're battling, or you all are battling, people coming into your communities, taking over. Donald Trump is now being asked by governors of states in the South to bring in the National Guard. We saw that happen in Tennessee, dealing with that in Memphis right now. We're seeing that happen. Louisiana's governor just today is asking the Trump administration to send in the National Guard, putting people at risk, primarily in New Orleans. What is not a mistake? Memphis is run by a Black mayor. I would say one that was a little soft on whether or not to receive the National Guard. Um, New Orleans is ran by a Black mayor. This is not by accident. Here's the thing that is going to be maddening to some people: watching the National Guard and other federal law enforcement agencies have the resources, have the funding to go into communities that really don't need their services in this hour, when they can't get the food benefits they need to feed their families, when they can't receive the access to healthcare they need to survive. What is the excuse for sending in the National Guard right now? What is the real purpose of that? And that is the point. We really need to ensure that we are clear about what our actual needs are. So we normally tell you to call your member. This isn't one of those times where you call in and make a request. Y'all, this is a time where you call in and issue a demand, a requirement. If you live in this state, this is what you must be doing. If you have your own SNAP benefit story, your own Medicare story, your own Medicaid story for your children, what the healthcare needs are for your children, for them to survive in this moment, this is a matter of life and death. And we cannot escape that. We can't tell people that they really don't need this. How does this shutdown different from past ones? One of the questions says. I think that because of the number of cuts that we saw take place in the bills that passed this summer, that again, that Senate Bill 1, S1, they called it the big beautiful bill. We call it a lot of other things that are not beautiful: ugly, trifling, wrong, foul. That bill was already putting the most vulnerable Americans right in the crosshair of harm, right in the crosshairs of harm. This bill will double down on that. I would submit to you all that if these services are halted during this shutdown, that there's very well a possibility that these services don't return, right? This is what we are up against. Shutdowns are as a result of the of Congress being at an impasse, not able to get on the same page with each other and or the administration. When they have that type of a stalemate, right? There's an impasse. There's nothing they can do to get on the same page. That is when the government shuts down. They shut down all non-essential activity. What I'm also telling you is different about this moment is that this government, this administration sees essential activities, essential workers different than a lot of common sense folks, y'all. So these are the other things that could be in harm's way, because they will say that even some of these things that we would deem essential, if they support people of color, if they support immigrant communities, those things could also be in harm's way. Federal courts could potentially be in harm's way. People who are locked up waiting on bail, to be released on bail, may be in harm's way. Um, this is a question that we keep seeing over and over again. Why won't the Dems buck harder? Y'all, this is $1 million question, and it's so frustrating because there are a lot of people who are representing the Democratic Party, including our next guest, who you know, don't have it in them to compromise or to capitulate. They are fighting every single day to make sure that our interests and our needs are met. And so there are some fighters. I wish I could answer you why all of them aren't coming together to fight. And what I would say to you is, so much of this has to do with the districts they represent. Some members feel like if they revolt or if they fight back, that means they will lose their seats. There are still others, though, who are deciding, even on the Republican side of the aisle. I think you're going to see this a lot more, especially as you get closer to the 2026 election, who are saying, you know what, I got to vote my conscience. And if that means I lose my seat or I have to retire after this term, I will, because I'm going to do what's right. I want to be able to live with myself. I want history to be kind to me. These are some of the things they're saying to ensure that they are doing what is represents the American people in the best way. We have someone who says, I'm a federal contractor and was financially impacted by the government shutdown during his first term. I would love to hear about your story, where you're a federal contractor, how you were impacted by that. I think people need to know when these types of non essential activities are stalled, people get thrown off their you don't get your payments in time. Contractors, subcontractors don't get payments in time. There are some instances where payroll is halted. People don't get paid. If they're deemed non-essential during a government shutdown, the economy is already crazy. Eggs is already $75 million. Like, come on. Um, Somebody said, Lolo, are we to hold our black mayors and governors accountable for asking for National Guard? Yes. Yes, you are. If they are doing things that directly put you in harm's way, I did see some pastors who are saying they also want the National Guard, particularly in Memphis. It's an interesting time to be calling on federal support when we've seen the ways in which our kids have been stopped and frisked, they have been profiled, they have been harassed. Some of them have been physically harmed by National Guard and other federal law enforcement being in cities, including in the district most recently. So I would definitely suggest holding folks accountable. Um, they said that they can't be activated in a city without mayoral approval. That I don't think is true. I believe that the governor actually has that authority. It's a state-based criteria. If you know of something different, fact check me, boo. Who gonna check me, boo? Fact check me, boo. But I believe that it is actually a gubernatorial level decision on whether or not to activate the state's National Guard. We have another question. Angela, how can we as a community help our federal workers who have been severely impacted by this administration? I think it's a great question. I would love for us all to be answering that. I think that somebody should start a fund. I have my good sister friend, Valicia Butterfield Jones, who has started a fund to help Black women who have been impacted by the firings, by the mass layoffs, by the elimination of DEI departments and spaces in corporations. And in the federal government, where DEI was once and equity was once appreciated and even supported. So those types of funds are necessary to ensure that people can live and thrive right now. I think if you have a friend who's been impacted by a federal layoff, a forced resignation, or an early retirement, it's a great opportunity and time right now to let them know where there may be a job announcement, a contracting opportunity. For those of us who run our own businesses, this is a great moment for us to bring people in where we need support and say, hey, I've got this opportunity, or I have this thing I've been struggling with, how to put it into place. Maybe I can give you a contract, even if it's for a short term, just to help make ends meet. If you have $20 or $30 to donate to some fund every month, including the one Valicia stood up, I think it'll be great. Valicia runs Seed. I cannot remember the name of the fund she started, but Seed is her organization. And you can certainly check her out on Instagram at Valicia, Valeisha, and see how you can donate to the fund that she's established. Um, Additionally, there's another question. Can the Dems? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Lolo just sent this to me. Valicia's fund is not through Seed. It is the Global State of Women Rapid Relief Fund. Global State of Women Rapid Relief Fund. And you can find more information on that on Instagram. We have another question from Light Mocha. Can the Dem governors, AGs, and mayors band together in a soft secession where they withhold federal money? Um, they wouldn't withhold federal money. Federal money is definitely being withheld from them, but there are certain ways in which they can withhold the ways that they interact with the federal government. There are monies that go into federal government pockets where they could do that. I know there have been conversations about this, from Illinois to Maryland to some of the other northeastern states. Certainly, there are ways that the governors and the attorneys general, you all know, many of the suits being filed against the federal government have been led by these state attorneys general. Those are the kinds of things that must be done. It's not just a form of resistance, it's also a way to present to mount a real opposition and to present some real alternatives to our people right now in this moment. So there are those kinds of things happening as well. Oh, here we go. Y'all, this is a hard question, but I'm going to tell you my hard truth right now. We have Angela. Do you expect to have free and fair midterm elections? I'm concerned ICE will wreak havoc in Black and Brown communities on election day. Well, I hate to tell y'all this. We don't have to wait till the midterms. There are mayoral races. There's a mayoral race. Actually, early voting has already begun in New Orleans. There is a Virginia gubernatorial race coming up. We can see what they decide to do in these races to determine whether or not there will be free and fair elections. I have a hard time believing and even saying that we have free and fair elections now. We had the current sitting president of the United States who was charged in Georgia for asking them to find some more votes in 2020. So it ain't been free and fair for some time. I question the outcome of Stacey Abrams' race. I question the outcome of Andrew Gillum's race. Those are 2018 races, right? I also question the outcome in the 2022 race for Stacey Abrams. I think free and fair is a far cry away from where we are right now because of the ways in which the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Again, we're celebrating that 60th anniversary right now. I question whether or not we can have free and fair elections without the full protection of the Voting Rights Act, which we do not have right now. Congresswoman Sewell has introduced on multiple occasions the Voting Rights Advancement Act. It has passed the House when the Democrats were in charge multiple times, I believe three in prior years, and she keeps introducing it even now, and there's still not support. Do you know understand and know that the Voting Rights Act reauthorization used to be a bipartisan effort? A bipartisan effort. You want to know when it stopped being a bipartisan effort? I am so happy you asked. It is when Barack Obama won. So in 2008, Barack Obama wins the election for president. They have not been able to pass another Voting Rights Reauthorization Act in a bipartisan manner since then. This is where we are. This is where we are. So I'm going back really quick to the Global State of Women Rapid Relief Fund. The link for that is Global State of Women. Again, that's globalstateofwomen.com. If you want to donate resources to support Black women who have been left out of the federal workforce, who have been, thank you all so much, who have been taken out of the federal or the private sector workforce, or on the state level. This is the fund that our good sister and friend Felicia Butterfield Jones stood up to support these women who have been impacted. Uh, we are now looking at who should the public be holding accountable. Is my next question. Who should the public be holding accountable for getting us here? Everyone seems to be pointing the finger at the other side. Well, there's a saying: when there's one finger pointing at you, it's a whole bunch more pointing this way. I think that it's a good time for us to be taking stock on what we did right in this last election cycle, what we did wrong, where did we fail to collectively come together For the folks who voted third party, where is your candidate? What is she doing? For the folks who wanted a Kamala Harris to pass a purity test, even though they knew that they agreed with her on 80 to 85 to 90% on issues. You have to figure out if it was worth it. For those who said, you know what, this election doesn't apply to me, I'm just going to sit at home. I'm tired of elections. I want to know if you feel protected in this environment that we're in now. For the elected officials who refused to endorse or endorse late or didn't stump or didn't go to their communities and ask for additional support, I want to ask you if it was worth it. For those of you who decided that you didn't want another black president, or you didn't want a woman president, or you couldn't stand with her because of her position on LGBTQIA rights, or whether or not she was going hard enough for Gaza, I want to know if it was worth it. I can tell you that that is my big sister, and she is my friend, and I know her heart, and I know where she stands, and we don't agree on every single issue. But what I know for sure is I would prefer to have someone in that office who has experience, who was a prosecuting attorney, who was a state attorney general, who was a United States senator, who had experience as the vice president, who has worked at every level of government, has always been a public servant, who understands what HBCUs need because she went to one, who understands the importance of coming together geographically across racial lines, income lines, all of that. I would have so preferred her. And I still haven't forgiven this country for what you did, allegedly, because I'm still not sure about these election results. I'm going to just end up being an election denier from this episode, and I'm totally fine with it. But let me tell y'all, I would have so much rather have that conversation with her, debate our differences, figure out where we can find common ground and get there, rather than having someone who is ill fitted and unprepared and unwilling to have any type of conversation unless it's on advancing the priorities of Project 2025. I would so much rather have her. And so we are seeing yet again why having someone in the White House who has a my way or highway mentality, who was charged with 91 felonies, dropped down to 88, never properly prosecuted. I want to know. I want to know if we all agree that it was worth it. I certainly don't agree with that. Right? I know you wanted somebody to blame, and I know I'm telling you to turn to you. I'm turning to me too. I want to know if I did everything that I could have possibly done. I tried, but maybe there's something else I could have done. I also want to say this, and it may be an unpopular opinion right now. I want y'all to study what Merrick Garland did. Study what Merrick Garland did as the U.S. Supreme Court Justice nominee by Barack Obama, who never got an opportunity to serve in the Supreme Court. I'm not mad at that. I actually wanted a black woman then too. I think that that would have resulted in a higher turnout for Hillary Clinton in 2016. But I want to know how he went from becoming what would have been a very moderate Supreme Court justice to somehow Biden advisors and strategists and President Biden himself thinking that this man was going to be a fierce advocate as the Attorney General of the United States. I would have preferred Sally Yates. I would have preferred them ask Eric Holder if he would come back. I would have preferred they ask Stacey Abrams. I would have preferred somebody that had a fight in them to ensure that this man was prosecuted in a timely way. Instead, what they allowed for was enough time for the former president to mount a case. Now he's the current president again, but to mount a case to say, you know what? I actually want to see if I could be immune from any criminal liability if I was acting in my official capacity. That's where we are now, where the president of the United States could say, I may have committed a crime, but I should be immune from it because I took an oath. Well, because you took an oath, it should mean that you are not going to commit a crime to get the job done? How about taking an oath of office and being the type of public servant that could do what's in the best interest of the people and not your pocketbooks? How about that? How about you try to do that? So, this is where we are. We are in quite the crisis yet again. And I want to know, what is our next collective best steps? As I said, the state of the people for this last government crisis we were in had a 69.5 hour marathon. And I will tell y'all, at the time, I thought that was our best way to fight. Now I'm questioning what is our best way to fight. If all of the tools that we normally use are no longer at our disposal, if calling our members of Congress doesn't result in the type of sea change that we know we deserve, I think that we've got to figure out how to do this differently. And I'm raising with you all now in this moment that it may have to look different because, because the old tools don't work. These people are under the thumb of a dictator. He wants to be a dictator so bad that they're willing to do anything that he says, even if it is at the expense of people who voted for them, of people who reside in their districts. That is a very, very challenging place to be. It's very, very challenging. So I just think that we've got to figure out if we're doing our best. Are you going to town halls of these members of Congress who are now refusing to answer your calls and telling them what you expect to see? Are you sending notes? Are you on social media posting videos that could go viral, telling them why the makeup of their districts dictates that they need to vote a different way? Are you ensuring that people with large platforms have the information and the tools they need to show up to these town halls, to challenge these members of Congress on social media, to challenge them in press interviews? Are you telling your local newspaper, your local news outlets, this is how this member of Congress voted, and I want you to know? Let me bring up a recent example while we still go through this troubleshooting. And again, thank you all for your patience. Um, what I want to know is if you all paid attention to that resolution honoring the life of Charlie Kirk. Our dear sister and friend, Jasmine Crockett, who we're hoping joins us before the end of the show today, said recently that there were only two white members of Congress, Democrats, two white Democrats, who voted no on the Charlie Kirk resolution. Y'all can get good practice in right now asking them what the hell they were doing. That's what this moment requires. It's not a, hi, member of Congress so and so, I'm just calling because I'm urging you to vote no on XYZ. That's not what time we're on. The type of time we're on now is, hi, this is Angela Rye calling member XYZ. I'm calling you because I need you to understand how detrimental your vote is. I'm calling you because I need you to know you've been on the wrong side of history on the last 5 votes. I'm calling you because I want you to know that if you continue to vote against our interests, we will vote you out. Those are your only two options. You either are with us or you're against us. I want to be clear about that. And in fact, staff for so and so, I appreciate you picking up the phone, but where is your boss? I want to talk to the legislative director. I want to talk to the chief of staff. And in fact, I really want to talk to member XYZ because they got me confused. I will be right outside your office with a full rally. I'm going to be at the district office every day trying to figure out just what in the hell you doing because you stay on the wrong side of the issues. And that is the thing. We have got to figure this out. We have got to challenge these members in a different way. And let me just say this, because I think some of us mess this up too. Y'all, I'm giving you a little primer on how the Hill works unexpectedly, but it's probably a good time to go through this primer. Y'all spent a lot of time calling the wrong member. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Congresswoman Yvette Clark, all of the CBC members, they don't need these calls. They gonna vote the right way on the government shutdown. Some of them messed up on the Charlie Kirk resolution. That's a story for another day. But on the shutdown, that's not who you need to call. You need to call these Republicans. Y'all need to call Speaker Mike Johnson. You need to call Republican leadership. You need to figure out what it is they're doing, because the conscience of the Congress is going to vote together. The conscience of the Congress is going to vote together. You need to call the members of Congress who are confused about how they got there and who they represent. That's who you got to call. So I saw something recently where there's a conversation again after the federal government takeover of DC, where there were some DC folks saying, we need the Congressional Black Caucus to stand with us on DC statehood. And I was like, the Congressional Black Caucus been with y'all on DC statehood since it was founded in 1971. In 1971, the Congressional Black Caucus went to Richard Nixon with 61 recommendations of what would result in the betterment of Black America, the types of policies that would ensure the protection and the development and the strengthening and the uplifting of Black America. One of the key pillars of that 61-point recommendation plan was DC statehood. The Congressional Black Caucus understands, right? So I just got to be very clear about the fact that the CBC members are with y'all. It's them other ones. So demand that they tell you in writing how they're planning to vote. You can reach out to these members on social media. You can reach out to them by calling their office. You can go to their town halls, go on their website and see when their next public event is. Go look on their social media and see when their next town hall is. I just did a teletown hall actually with Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. It was amazing. Shout out to you, Congresswoman Wilson. You did an amazing job. And there were 40,000. She called me recently. I think it was last week. She called me last week and said 40,000 people, 40,000 of her constituents were on that teletown hall. People are thirsty for knowledge on this in this moment. We just did the CBC Foundation's annual legislative conference just this past week. The theme was made for this moment. If you tuned into our live show, you know that. We talked about it over and over again. If you came to any of the sessions, you know that, because I asked everybody to tell us why they were made for this moment. In fact, in the comments right now, as we get ready to transition, I want you all to tell us while you're made for this moment. We're going to put some of those up in social on our stories. And right now, it gives me great pleasure. I'm glad we were able to troubleshoot everything. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is joining us right now. She represents Texas's Congressional District 30. My good sister, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. You sound very chill today. I'm hyped because I've been in here yelling about this crazy government shutdown, ma'am.
Yeah, let me take off my pen.
You like it before before I get loose. Before I get
Yeah,
loose.
before I start talking stuff, let me take my pen off.
You should have left it on. You took an oath of office to do
Yeah.
just that, to tell the people the truth, and you do it every single day. Before you get into the shutdown, sis, I want to just acknowledge this because I think it's important. You get hit really hard. The opposition is coming at you regularly, and Westmore joined us for our live show on Saturday, and he said something so good that our sister Dawn told him. He said that when he was running for governor, that she told him it was going to get hard, that people were going to start coming at him relentlessly. And when that happens, no, it's because you're doing everything right. And so, you get hit often, especially from the other side. Sometimes it's internal, friendly fire too. And I just want to remind you in this moment, I know you know, but sometimes it's good to hear from your sister friends too, that I want you to know it's because you're doing so much right. And if there is never anything else to remind you, I hope you can always hear in your mind what I heard at the Phoenix Awards dinner Saturday for the CBC Foundation. You all, when Congresswoman Crockett's name was called, the audience roared and it gave me goosebumps. It was this beautiful moment. And I was like, I hope she hears and receives this love. I know they were cheering for the outfit too, but I think they were mostly cheering for the way in which you represent us so well. So I want to tell you thank you and I love you before this audience as well. You are always representing us, even when it's hard. So I want you to know we see you, sis.
I love you so very much. And I'm happy that you are still in this space. For those of you that don't know the full story of Angela Rye, she is definitely not new to this. She is as true as they come. And there's so much that she does behind the scenes that y'all will never know about until she puts it in whatever best-selling book she decides is going to be brought forth next, right? But that's what this work takes. It takes being able to build coalitions that are inside as well as outside, as well as understanding the rules to the game, so that hopefully you can figure out how to maneuver. And I think that one of the things about the moment that we're living in is that we have somebody who does not care about the rules. And so he out here wilding, but the rest of us know that if we come anywhere near crossing the line of like breaking any rule, we know that it's not going to be friendly fire. It's just going to be fire. We've seen how they've acted with our sis, Tish James. We know that he believes in going after his political enemies. We saw what he did with my good sis who sits at the which one is she?
Oh, you're
Lisa
talking about
Cook,
Lisa
but I can't
Cook.
remember which agency right
Yeah,
now.
she's at one only black woman federal board of governors ever for now
The
I can't
reserve,
think.
the reserve,
Thank you,
the
Federal
reserve,
Reserve.
the reserve,
I'm like,
the reserve. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, so I was
you
waiting, but
guys, we
like
just barely passed the civics test today, but we did pass. We're tired.
but that is the issue. Like, so, you know, I have to make sure that I am always checking myself and staying within the rules. You saw that I was pulling off my pen because I didn't want any drama because of something that I said. So it's all those things. So it's like, how do you function within the rules against someone who is lawless? It is a wild dynamic to be in. But I appreciate the fact that there is some resistance and opposition coming in the form of this shutdown. I don't appreciate the harm that is going to exist as relates to all American people, especially our federal government workers who I love and adore and I appreciate. But sadly enough, they've been violating the law and going after them since the day he swore in. The illegal rifts that have taken place, and even some of the things that the courts has ruled as being lawful, they've not been smart. We know that these agencies haven't been at full capacity anyway. And now we're talking about just the big hit that it's actually happening to our economy overall, because the largest employer, period, in the United States is the federal government. So pulling out that many workers impacts all of us. So yeah, so as it relates to the shutdown, listen, the last time we had a shutdown, it was Trump, the longest shutdown we've ever had.
Right.
It was under Trump. So don't get caught up in this nonsense that it's the Democrats' fault. You know, the bad part is that people don't understand civics, or they listen to people that are gaslighting them. And the facts are the facts. The Republicans control everything. Now, there are people that want to talk about the filibuster. We can talk about the filibuster if you want to talk about the filibuster, but the reality is that y'all control everything. You control every single lever right now. So when you're in control, that means that it is up to you to figure out how it gets done. When Joe Biden was, he had a House and he had a Senate, he was able to get the largest bill that we've ever seen as relates to infrastructure. He got that passed. He didn't have 60 in the Senate. He was able to get the Chips and Science Act done. He didn't have 60 in the Senate. So people expect you to be able to govern when you have the majority. That means you're just in the best negotiation space. But when you sit up there and you basically shun the people that you need, and then you want to come around and just be like, well, just go do this. I'm sorry, but we not your flunkies. Mm-hmm. And that is not what we campaigned on. We didn't campaign on making life worse or more harmful for people. So I don't really know what the negotiating space looks like. I don't sit at the negotiation table. But I can tell you that usually when you go in and you negotiate with somebody, the first rule is that you have to at least be on the page where you can say, we're going to enter into honest negotiations, right? Imagine walking into buy a car and you know that you've got cash to pay for the car. And the dealer tells you, yes, I will accept $40,000 for this car if you pay cash. And then you pull up with the cash and you're like, give me the keys. And then he's like, I took your 40 racks, but I'm going to need another 5. You going to look at him and be like, you can go to hell. because that's not what we agreed to. Well, that's exactly what's happened. We've seen that Democrats have entered into negotiations as it relates to getting other funding bills passed. And as soon as Donald Trump came in, he decided to claw back whatever he wanted to claw back. He's decided to illegally just stop money from going out, whether it was to USAID or otherwise. So we also have to have assurances that even if we say, okay, we will do X, we have to know that you're not going to pull back X and just do what you want to do anyway. So we really are in a bad way. And I need the American people to understand how many problematic dynamics we have in this moment.
Sis, I want to ask you this too, because I think it's so important. I keep getting asked. I'm gonna be perfectly and transparent and honest with you. I keep getting asked, what do we do? Like, like what does the American people need to do in this moment? Not just about the shutdown, but I don't know if you're sensing this even from last week at the conference. Like, people are so hungry for, like, give me something I can do, because it feels like we're grasping at straws. You talk about, having people who know the rules of the game. I got to be honest with you. I don't know these rules. There are no rules. And so
Yeah.
I am struggling to tell people what to do and how to do it, because every tactic that I have at my disposal from when I worked on the Hill, which was 50 gazillion years ago now, it's changed, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to know, one, for you, does that make you deepen into the fight? Right? Or are you ever at a point where you're like, okay, I'm discouraged because this is some nonsense that I just can't get with? I think it's important for people to understand Jasmine the human versus the fight in Congresswoman Crockett, and how you navigate those two things. Cause I bet you a lot of folks are feeling that dichotomy. I know I am.
Yeah. Angela is asking this question because she knows the answer.
No, I'm serious, because you might be in
Because
like
she
Terrence Crawford
knows
mode.
she knows that there are times that she hits me up and I'm over it. I am, like, people just don't get that, like, I do this because I legitimately, like, love this country and I love my people. Like, period. That's it. That's it. That's all. There is nothing else. Life is really complicated for me to navigate right now. From the death threats to the death threats to, also just a lack of, like, security that they provide, considering the death threats, to, like, the fact that I'm used to working for myself and being able to go out and dictate how much money I bring in. So here it is. I have these death threats. I have these costs that are associated with death threats to try to keep me safe. And then they're not really deciding that they're not going to participate in that. But I also have, like, these chains on me because I am a worker, right? Like, I mean, anybody that's known me since I could work, people used to talk about me all the time. I worked 3 jobs when I was in law school and was still top of my class. Like, I hustle. I work hard for everything that I want. So, like, I've got all of these parameters. And there are times that I get so frustrated because I go out, I get all of the heat that's thrown on me, and I don't ever know who on my side will even back me up if somebody comes for me, right? But then I get a chance to actually be with the people. You talk about ALC. I was not feeling ALC. I did not want to do ALC. I was like, this feels like the wrong thing to be doing in this moment. Like, we're having parties. There is nothing to party about. Like, right now, like, people are losing. Like, and when I say people, I mean all people, but definitely Black folk are losing. So I just was really torn about ALC as a whole. And I was like, ain't nobody coming to this. Like, people are holding on to their money because of all of the uncertainty. I was just not feeling any of it. And like most things, showing up and seeing the people, that's where I get my energy from. I had a chance to sit down, a group of us sat down with the vice president on Saturday morning. And it's my first time seeing her in person since the certification of the election. We went over to her office in the Senate prior to her having to stand up there and do her job. We had, like, a sit down, a powwow with her. So this is my first time seeing her in about 8 months or so. And she was talking about how we have to get out of DC. And she wasn't just talking
Yes.
about physically, but like mentally, because
Yes.
you can get just drained by like being here. And she was like, you gotta basically touch grass. You
Yeah.
gotta actually see the people, talk to the people. And that is the thing that keeps me in this fight. You know, the whole Laura Loomer thing, you brought that up
Oh God.
when I missed y'all, which I had to, because of the way my life is set up. I could not go through the front of the convention center, so I didn't get to go live with y'all. They had to bring me around the back to get into the convention center. So like even my routes getting into buildings are changed sometimes
Yeah.
depending on
Yeah.
how large of a gathering it is. And literally we're supposed to be going to get me like fitted for my bulletproof vest. Like this is
Hmm.
not, like I wake up days and I'm like, why? Right. And then I see people and I hear the stories of people, and most importantly, young people that are inspired. And I think, okay, God, I get it now. I get
Yeah.
why you chose me for this moment. But I can tell y'all that, much like many of you, I want to give up for different reasons, though. And again, even when the Loomer situation happened, I was flying in and out of New York on that day to speak at UNGA. So I had no idea. Like, I'm busy, like, I'm working, right? Like, I'm working. And it wasn't until I got back to DC that I was made aware of what was going on. But by that time, the internet had dragged her for filth. And
Hmm.
like there was nothing to be said. Like y'all left no crumbs. Like y'all ate her up. Y'all still eating her up. And again, you know what? Like seeing that happen completely organically, like people just being like, not on our watch, it makes me say, yes, I have to stay in this fight. Like these people are out there saying, you will not come for somebody that is always protecting and fighting for us. And
Yeah.
so, who am I to give up in that moment? So, yes, DC may let me down in so many ways, so very often. But every time I am given an opportunity to just be with the people, that is where I am re-energized. And when I refocus and say, this is just what has to be done in this moment. So I do want to say mad love to each of you. When you are trying to figure out things that you can do, just know that literally y'all are keeping me in this game. From
Hmm.
the small dollar donations, I think I was looking at our donations for this quarter, and we've had 100 and maybe 20 something thousand people. That's a lot of people. 120,000 people so far this quarter have contributed to me. They've contributed $1, $5, $10. It makes a difference.
It
Like that
does.
money adds up. And so when I'm having to pay for security, like it's y'all that keep me safe, right? When I'm
Oh.
getting trolled on the internet, it's y'all that are coming to have my back. And so I just really want to say thank you, because when I do hit those lows, it's always y'all that bring me back. And so, yes, there are things that you can do. I just gave you examples, even if it's a matter of making sure when they come for somebody that you know is doing things purely because they want a better country, have their back.
Yeah.
Get on the internet and drag them people for filth. Don't make them have to figure out how to amplify and really make a statement. That helps. Also, unfortunately, I'm a real one, so I'm not gonna lie to you and say that there's a ton that we can do in this exact moment for these exact things. But
Hmm.
they didn't get here overnight. So
That's
I
right.
need people to be patient. They have been working for 50 years to overturn Roe. It
That's
took them
right.
50 years. Now we ain't got 50 years to be working on some of this stuff, but just understand that progress comes, but sometimes it doesn't come as fast as we want it to come. So some of the things that we have going on right now, we know that November 4th is another election day. It's going to be a big election day in the state of California. Prop 50 is something that I need everyone to vote yes on. I need you posting on social media about it. I need you talking to your friends, families, and foes about Prop 50 and why it matters. If you are looking for us to kind of semi immediately stop some of the pain, then we have to win the House. I don't know what our chances of winning the Senate are, but we are in good position. That is why he is trying to rig the game, because he knows that
Changing the
we
maps.
exactly we should be ready to go ahead and take the House and start to really get some accountability. So yeah, we need to vote yes on Prop 50 on November 4. We also know that there's a gubernatorial race in the state of Virginia. Virginia right now has a Republican that controls that state. We need to get a Democrat that is going to be in power. You talked about Wes Moore. Wes Moore was able to push back on this administration as the governor. So to protect those that are in Virginia, we need a governor that will push back. So it's important that we make sure everybody and anybody in Virginia gets out and they actually vote on November 4th, not only for governor,
And not
but
for that
also
black lady. That black lady crazy. I love black people,
crazy.
but some
She
people
crazy.
are just skin
She
folks.
crazy.
She is exhibit A.
Yeah, y'all, yeah, no, she wild. But also every House member is up in Virginia. So like, look at what the state of California did as it relates to ICE. They passed a bill that said no law enforcement can be out here in these streets with no mask. Like, part of fighting back is our states kind of rising up to protect their people, just like our city councils can do some of the same. So you've got that election November 4th.
You introduced a bill like that in the House too. I know that you
I
talking
did.
about the elections, but I do want to say this. What Jasmine's bill does is the moral thing to do. I can't remember the acronym for so that they have to be unmasked. What is it? You remember? She introduced a lot of bills.
Clear.
That's
Clear.
it. That's it. But
Clear.
the thing is, it is designed to make sure that these federal operatives, federal law enforcement agents, cannot be covered up while they're harassing our children and our elders and our people on American streets. Y'all need to tell your members to vote for that. There should be a motion to discharge. That's what you do. There should be a
Yeah.
motion to discharge to make them have to vote on this bill.
That actually, you know what? I may discharge it. That's a good
I think
idea.
you should make them be on the record for that and call every one of them out when they won't sign on to that.
So
We got your
yes,
back on
the
that,
Clear
sis. You
ID
keep that up.
Act is that
ID.
bill, and for sure. And just so y'all understand, discharge. That's what we're trying to do on the Epstein files. It is very difficult to get a discharge petition done, but we are one signature away from getting it done on the Epstein file. And I don't think that we've actually had enough signatures, which it takes 218 signatures to be able to then basically usurp the speaker and get a bill to the floor.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like when people go out and they petition their government. Sometimes if the government don't do what you want them to do, they can do petitions in certain states. That's basically what it is. We're saying, listen, the speaker is the only one that can put a bill on the floor. But if he refuses to, then we as House members can come together and say, no, we're going to do this and we're going to override you. Well, right now we have 4 Republicans on the bill. We've got every Democrat on the bill. And the last Democrat that would be 218 to sign, she just won her seat and he refuses to swear her in. In fact, the Democrats went to the floor today because we are in a pro forma session. They have sworn in Republicans just this term during pro forma. They could have sworn her in. They refused to swear her in because they don't want her to sign that, because then that starts the process of having to put this on the floor by the time we get back into session and actually vote on it. But I can discharge this. And that's another thing that Angela brings up. A lot of times, if you're a Democrat and you're represented by a Republican, you don't want to call them. You want to call the Democrats. You need to call the people that represent you.
Correct.
Call them and tell them what it is that you want them to do. Also talk to like your Republican neighbors and friends or whatever. Tell them too. Like a lot of this stuff, like when we look at things like SNAP benefits, under the shutdown, SNAP benefits will continue for approximately an additional 30 days. But rural America uses more SNAP benefits than urban America.
I pulled when MW was on earlier. I pulled the zip code with the highest number of SNAP beneficiaries is in South Dakota.
How many Democrats I know there? Okay. I just want y'all to be clear.
That's 0 for those listening.
They try to make the face of SNAP, and also don't buy into their stereotypes. They try to make the face of all violence be Black. But we know that as we have just endured, I don't know how many shootings here recently. I think there were 4 mass shootings in like 24 hours here recently. The face of mass shootings ain't Black folk. I just want to be clear. And it ain't immigrants either. It's white, homegrown males. That's the face of it, right? The face of SNAP benefits. It's not the welfare queen. That was a whole thing that they pushed out there, right? So that in people's minds, they would believe that it was some hood black woman or whatever. That is not the face of SNAP benefits. The
Yeah,
face is rural white America. That
that's
is the
right.
face of SNAP benefits, right? So when I fight for it, I'm not just fighting for my constituents, I'm fighting actually harder for theirs. Same thing with Medicaid, Medicare, all of the government assistance. The numbers are going to be higher in those areas.
Right.
So, it is unfortunate that this is where we find ourselves. But until we start having conversations that are with everybody so that we can educate even those and say, listen, you about to lose your health care. You're about to lose your ability to eat. Your member voted for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, we've got these elections on November 4th. New Jersey, if you're in New Jersey, definitely show up for that gubernatorial race. It's a tight one. We have an opportunity, again, to make sure that we've got a Democrat holding that governor's mansion. So we saw what happens when Democrats are fired up and they can focus. We ended up with 2 Democratic senators out of the state of Georgia because there was nothing else going on. So if you've got that extra energy right now, find one of these elections that you really are passionate about. Make phone calls for Prop 50. Make phone calls for some of these state representatives that are running in Virginia, or the gubernatorial candidate, that is in New Jersey. And we have an opportunity in Tennessee because we have a special election because yet another Republican was up to no good. So he decided he was going to go ahead and get out. And so, I mean, is it a long shot to think that we can flip the seat? Maybe, but can it make a huge difference if we flip that seat in the immediacy? Yes.
Yeah,
And we have been overperforming by no less than 10 points right now in all of our special elections. So research that Tennessee race for Mark Green's seat. And maybe we can end up with a random pickup. We did it when we took the George Santos seat last
that's
term.
true. Yeah.
We flipped that seat. So it's not impossible, but we've got to dream big and we've got to work hard. And so I say put your energy into whatever is in front of us right now. And then ultimately, we've got to turn our attention to the midterms.
That is true. And on that, there's a happy note that I want to end with because I know you got a lot to do today, including holding the line for the House of Representatives, if they can find the line. But we have our dear sister and friend who's joining us, who is also a fighter for the people, but in a different way. She founded Win with Black Women. And Joteka Edie and your sorority sister is
That's
coming
right.
on. There she is coming on. She is going to share with us. She didn't get an opportunity to give her remarks after winning one of the Phoenix Awards this past Saturday. So I said I would yield the floor for my podcast to do that, but I want to make sure y'all get to love on each other before Congresswoman Crockett has to go, Joe.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump, but congrats to both of you.
Oh, thank
I
you.
don't know if Angela made it clear that she won a Phoenix Award as well, but congrats to both of you. And, one of the greatest parts probably about Phoenix was just the fact that they took time to specifically acknowledge Black women, something that unfortunately this country still has not gotten right. And so I am so happy to say that the caucus and the foundation understood the assignment and recognized the work that people see out front, as well as how much we labor behind closed doors. And they decided to acknowledge your many works. You both are invaluable to this movement. Black women are invaluable to every movement. And I cannot wait till the history books are written about just the courageous things that you've done, the innovative things that you have done to, number one, make sure that people are woke, but also to make sure that we are moving this country forward and we are never looking back. So thank you and congratulations to both of you, amazing human beings, because besides the fact that y'all are badasses when it comes to being in these streets, your hearts. You're just good people. And I can't say that about everybody. So,
And she
so
wouldn't. Joe, you're
yeah,
on mute.
exactly.
Joe, you're on mute in case you're talking, Joe.
You
There
would
she is.
think that I would have this right after about 5 years on When Would Black Women Calls, but I have to say, Congresswoman Crockett, I often say, if I am in a foxhole, there are a few people that I want to be in the foxhole with. And let me tell you, you are absolutely number one on that list of who I want to be in a foxhole with, because you are a fighter. You are a
Yes.
representative of what it means to be a Black woman who understands the call to action. And I just want to personally thank you for all that you do, all that you endure, and just the way that you lead with power and conviction, and you speak truth to power, even when it's uncomfortable. And I think it's important for us to not only lift that up and celebrate it, because people will try you. And the thing that you do is that you keep going despite what anybody has to say,
That's
or
right.
these comments that these folks, and I get real piping mad, and that, because last time I checked, there ain't nothing out of your name. I won't even go there because I know we live right now. But let me
We
tell you,
live.
I want to say to those who want to ever, I actually, Angela, may I please?
You may reclaim your time.
I gotta say this, right? Because I've been wanting to say this, because there was a certain somebody. I'm not even gonna give her name any air, but she decided that she wanted to get Twitter fingers or X fingers or whatever kind of fingers that you want to call it, and then she wanted to call my soror, my congresswoman, my sister, our leader, out of her name. She wanted to call her ghetto, and ain't
I
nothing.
done dragged her
First of
already.
all, Black women, yes. So one thing she did get right is Black women are leading in this country. But one thing that she needs to understand is that what she's not going to do is call us out of our name and think that it is okay, and to think that we forgot about it, because we have not. Because one thing that I will say is that we will not sit back and let them continue to call us out of our name and to do whatever they want to say when we're doing what we're supposed to do, is representing our people. And that's what you do, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. So I hope the lady is watching. I hope you watch it.
Well, if she not watching, we gonna make sure we add her in a clip. We see you. You don't want these problems. I would say like a West Coast person, but Joe Taker's about to do her speech, so I'm gonna say, anyway. Jasmine, at least she took her pin off. Sis, we love you.
I
Thank you
did.
so much for spending so much time with us. We are praying your strength. And if we need to get a bulletproof vest, we're going to get it. I'm going to get you a helmet too, because we need you to keep your heart, your mind, and everything protected. And we definitely got your front and your back.
Sure
Thank
do.
you. Love you
We
both.
love you, sis. Bye-bye. Joe Taker, Edie, I am going to yield the floor and the screen, but before I do, I just want you all to know this. Joe Taker Edie is my sister for a long time. She's been in movement work for a while. NAACP senior advisor, still very active with NAACP. Runs her own strategy firm, and on top of all of that, during COVID, saw fit that Black women had a space to gather, to come together, to strategize, to encourage one another, and runs these amazing calls every other Sunday for Win with Black Women. Because of Joteka, Black women are winning even more. She is the person who was behind the 100,000+ Black women who came together, as well as other allies and supporters for Kamala Harris shortly after she announced that she, in fact, would be the Democratic nominee. And Joteka does so much on the scene, behind the scenes, on the side of the scenes, to make sure that we are uplifted, empowered, whether it is selling a book to the audience, whether it is running for office, or having someone's back when they have found themselves in the crosshairs of the man. And we know the man is finding us in the crosshairs more and more every single day. But it is for that reason that she was recognized by this year's annual legislative conference co-chairs as one of the Phoenix Awards winners. I was one as well. I am grateful. It's not about me right now. So was Kamala Harris, our forever MVP. But Joteka Edie has the floor right now to share her remarks with you all. You can take me off screen, y'all. Let her have her moment.
Well, thank you so much to you, my sister, Angela Rye. And I will say that when I look at that foxhole, you are definitely a sister that would be in there with me. I am very grateful for this opportunity, and thank you. And I'm going to share the remarks that I was going to share on Saturday night. So, first of all, I just want to start off by saying I am so deeply honored to stand here tonight to receive the Phoenix Award. Alongside my sisters, our forever Vice President Kamala Harris and my sister Angela Rye. This is humbling beyond measure. To receive this award from my friend and my sister, my soror, Senator Angela Alsobrooks, makes it all the more meaningful. I want to thank the Congressional Black Caucus, the conscience of our Congress. And I want to thank its members, past and present, its staff for being the moral compass in times when our nation has lost its way. I also want to take a moment of personal privilege to thank my family and my friends because they are my foundation. I am a daughter of a small town in South Carolina, Johnsonville, South Carolina. I grew up on a dirt road, watching Mr. Jim Clyburn fight for us every single day. I was raised by parents who believed that faith and hard work would carry you further than fear ever would. My father, Emmett Eady, gave me the discipline and the vision, and my mother, Lenora Abraham Eady, may her soul rest in eternal peace, gave me love, courage, and the roadmap for my life. She is here with me tonight, and I honor not only my mother, but all Black women like her. Women who sow, who sacrifice, who labor without recognition, but whose seeds have made it possible for all of us to stand in this very room tonight. I do not accept this award for myself, but I accept it on behalf of the Sisters of Win with Black Women, and on behalf of the 44,000 and the additional 100,000 allies who came together and answered the call and helped shift this nation. I accept this on behalf of the 92% of Black women who election after election hold the line for democracy and often do it without any recognition and sometimes even a thank you. But let me be clear. This is a time that is calling us all to action. This is not the time to whisper, we must roar. This is not the time to shrink, we must rise. This is not the time to waver, we must focus. We are living in times of chaos. Our freedoms are under attack. Our bodies, our votes, our schools, our safety, our very stories. And yet in this chaos, we must have clarity. And if you have ever wondered what might you have done during the height of the civil rights movement, if you ever wondered if you would have marched with Dr. King, might you have called to action with Malcolm X? Would you have written like Baldwin, use your artistry like Ruby Dee and Ozzie Davis? Might you have sung a song of freedom like Marvin Gaye or Nina Simone, or put pen to paper like Baldwin? Might you have organized like Rustin? Or if you've ever asked, would you have convened like Dr. Height? You don't need to wonder anymore, because this is your civil rights movement, and this is our movement. Dr. Coretta Scott King reminded us that freedom is never won in one generation. It must be fought and won in every generation, and that means us, and that means now. One thing that I know for sure, and two things that I know for certain, is that organized people will defeat organized chaos every day, all day, any day, but only if we act. So tonight I beg and ask the question, who are you and what are you willing to do? Because in this moment of deep chaos, silence is not an option. Retreat is not a strategy, and shrinking will not be our story. We are the daughters and sons of those who endured the unimaginable and still believe in the impossible. We are the heirs to greatness, bound by broken chains, but molded into boundless excellence. And much like the phoenix that we celebrate tonight, we will rise from the fire. The fire will not consume us. It will refine us. We will not be buried, but we will be planted. And what is planted will certainly and always grow. For such a time as this, we, my people, my brothers and sisters, we shall rise. I pray that we are called to our conviction and that we will act, and that we never forget that we are indeed the power. Thank you. God bless, peace, love, and blessings. Thank you.
Yay, Joe! I love it. It's so good. It's so
Thank
good. It's so
you.
good.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on
Thank
this
you.
prestigious honor. There's a member of Congress spouse who reached out and was talking about it's a pinnacle award, and it is, and there's not anyone more deserving than you. I wanted to make sure that we had this opportunity to do this together, to celebrate together, and also for an opportunity for our audience to hear your very powerful words. So thank you for sharing those. This has been a whole Black women show, and what better way to end a Black woman show than the one who makes sure that we stay winning with Black women. I love you, Joe Take It Edie.
I
Keep
love
going.
you.
Let people know how to find you
Well,
before we close
first,
out.
I'm always for the movement. Go to Win. If you can only go to one place, go to Win with Black Women. Go to @WinWithBlackWomen on all socials. You can find us. If you want to find me, I'm at Joe Take It Edie and on all social platforms. But we look forward to engaging. And on most Sunday nights, if you're a Black woman who share our values, we look forward to you joining us on a Sunday night.
Who share our values, emphasis on sharing our values. I love you, sis. Thank you so much to our viewing audience. I know this has been a slightly longer Native Land Pod, but it's been so good. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure you do that on YouTube at Native Land Pod, and of course on iHeart's radio app, and anywhere you get your podcast. Check us out every Thursday is our main pod. Solo pods most Tuesdays, and we have some on Mondays as well. We have a special treat coming up for our 100th episode, so I hope you all will stay tuned for that. I don't mind if y'all start guessing in the comments what might be happening for that 100th episode, but news will be breaking very, very soon. Until next time, welcome home, y'all. I'll see you soon. Fight this government shutdown, though. Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Test, test. I can't hear it on the show. I'm looking at the YouTube. Mm. Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more